everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It's the 10 a.m. show and there's a lot to get into. Al-Thani representatives were at Manchester United at Old Trafford yesterday speaking to the Rain Group, and it's exciting stuff. It looks like a second round of bids are going to progress. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is there today. We're going to get into all the news with you here. There's so much coming out. There's so much to get into. Arsenal out of the Europa League. They better pray that they win the league or else a trophy this season. That's getting bantered after all of the cockiness that's coming from them. So we've got a lot to get into. Europa League draw coming up as well that Mark's going to be covering. Mark's going to be covering the Champions League draw over, and that's football. There's loads to get into, but thank you for joining me on this Monday morning. A little bit late as well. I'm sorry about that. We did have some technical issues. We're aiming to go live just before 10. There was some stuff that went wrong, but we are here and we're ready to bring you guys the news. So get in the chat down below, get your opinions in, and yeah, let's get into stuff, everyone. Monday morning, we're still in the Europa League, we're still in the FA Cup. Arsenal are out. Looks like Man United's getting bought from the Glazers. Everything's looking good. I'm excited, I'm happy. So yeah, get in the chat down below as well. But let's get into the first bit of news that is coming out, and this is from Mike Keegan as well, coming out. He's a brilliant journalist that's been covering the stuff to do with the ownership and the takeover. He's been getting so many things right, and this has come out of a lot of different outlets, but I'm just covering what Mike Keegan put out there right now. And it comes out that Qatari Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani will launch a second bid for Manchester United after positive talks at Old Trafford yesterday. So anyone in the chat that's saying oil me up, anyone in the chat that is pro-Qatar, be happy, be excited, because it's looking positive on the Qatar front. Fabrizio Romano also came out and said that talks were really positive. Al-Thani's still really confident that they can get this deal over the line. So it's looking like a second round of bids and they're going to progress. And that's exciting, especially when you're looking at the amount of money that this ownership would bring into Manchester United and what they could do for Manchester United. But we'll get into all the details as well. A lot of oil me ups in the chat. I mean, so many people want Qatar, so many people want them to come into Manchester United. That news should be really positive, and you're on that side of the fence as well. And then we've got another quote coming out saying high-level team of representatives of Sheikh Al-Thani toured Old Trafford before sitting down for presentations at United's Carrington complex. So as you've seen, if you've seen the pictures come out, there's been pictures of Al-Thani's representatives outside Old Trafford. They've got the little Man United umbrellas. They're being showed Old Trafford. They're being showed Carrington, and there was also presentations in play as well as that. And what I would say to that is, to be honest with you, when I look at what was happening yesterday, I don't know if people getting confused whether that side of things is for the Sheikh to kind of go over there and send his representatives to sell himself to Manchester United, or whether it's for the Manchester United and the representatives of the Glazers and the Rain Group to actually sell their project to the interested party, which obviously is the 92 group, in which comes and is led by Al-Thani in that sense. And personally, I would say that it is for the Glazers and their representatives to go and sell themselves to that representative and to the organisation, because if you look at that and you think about the money that they're asking, I think they're asking for around 6 billion. If you're asking for around 6 billion, you need to prove why these people should be bidding that. Obviously, the first bids came in at around 4.5 billion. I think it was 4.5 billion that they came in for. And they want more than that. They want 6 billion. They're surprised that they've not been offered 6 billion yet. They're dumbfounded by it. They've got to show through PowerPoints and through people making presentations and showing them the training complex and showing them the money, the infrastructure, the revenues that they could make, why this is worth 6 billion and why they should up their bid. So to be honest with you, I thought yesterday was all about the Rain Group and the representatives of Manchester United trying to sell themselves to up the bids of the 92 group, and today it will be Jim Ratcliffe as well. So I wonder what they put on them presentations, if I'm being honest with you. I think there was probably like a small chunk about the football and what the plans is for the summer and what the plans are when it comes down to, you know, signings and the way that they run the football club when it comes from a footballing aspect. But I think the majority of the 10 hours that was spent there and at Carrington will probably be talking about the financials, the money, the revenue, and why they should be bidding excess amount of money for this club. And to be honest with you, everyone in the right minds know that this club isn't worth 6 billion. I love Manchester United. It's not worth 6 billion. It's not. I mean, I think because Chelsea went for such a high amount of money, the Glazers assume that Manchester United will go for that much more. But 4.5 is probably right for Manchester United. Will they get higher than that? I think they will, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll get into more comments as well. And Ben Thomas says, some say that Qatar has not managed PSG well. They say they've given more powers to the players. PSG is not Man United. It's a farmers' league. PSG has no history and they need the big guns to attract top talent. One thing I would say to you is don't take the 92 group and what they're going to do to Manchester United. Don't just compare them exactly to what the Qatar have done over at PSG, because it's a completely different ball game. At PSG, like you said, there isn't much history. It's not a huge club. It is an oil club. It is like that is what PSG is. And obviously the French league isn't as globally recognised as the Premier League. You've got to realise Manchester United is the biggest club in the world. It's got the biggest fan base in the world. And if the Qatar come into Manchester United and this 92 group get hold of Manchester United, they're not going to go in the same process as they've done with PSG, because they don't need to. They really don't need to. They can go and get the superstars if Erik ten Hag wants them, but I'm not expecting them to run it in the exact same way. And it's not the same people that are doing it. Obviously, they're connected and there's some relations, but it's not the exact same people doing it. So I would give them a clean slate going into Manchester United and kind of just look at what they're offering us and what they've presented out there. I wouldn't just say, well, they've signed Mbappe, Neymar and Messi at PSG and they've gone against the manager, so we don't want them in. We've got to think about who we've got now in terms of the Glazers, and we've got to think about how much of improvement that this organisation would be, because it would be, and we've got to let them start things off, and they've got to come in and show us what they're going to do as owners. I don't think you can already tarnish them with that brush yet, but that's my opinion on that. And Sally says, Nice hasn't been particularly run either. Exactly. If you speak to Nice fans, they are really not a fan of Jim Ratcliffe and what he's done there at the club and the summer signings that they've done. So you've got to kind of get it from both sides of the coin on this. Would you rather have someone who's maybe not investing too much and quite... I'm not saying that's what Sir Jim will do, because as I say, you don't want to tarnish them with the brush that they've already laid in the path. Or would you rather someone be overspending and maybe getting these superstars in that the manager doesn't want? I mean, it's two different sides of the coin. It depends what side of the fence you sit on. But me personally, I don't think you can write any of them off right now. You can only take kind of things from that and see it as part of your decision-making process. But you've got to remember, it is Sir Jim that has been running Nice. Al Thani hasn't been running PSG. So it's a different circumstance if you think about it that way. And Jonas Debay says, Sir Jim barely affords to buy our club, let alone get rid of our debts, spend on stadium facilities and spend heavily on the squad. I mean, we're going to hear news about Sir Jim coming out shortly, I'm sure. If you've seen, he's already been pictured shaking hands with Richard Arnold outside Old Trafford. It's round 2 today. Round 1 yesterday, round 2 today, and let's just see what the outcome is of it. I have a little bit of an idea, and I'll get into it in a little bit, but I do think from what's coming out from Romano, what's coming out from Mike Keegan, what's coming out from the majority of journalists, it does seem like Qatar has the upper hand. And don't forget to remember what Jamie Jackson put out there, saying that the Glazers are more attracted to Qatar and the Sheikh because of what they can offer them business-wise over in Qatar as well. The Glazers are just going to be thinking money, money, money in this situation, and it'll be interesting to see what happens after the talks with Sir Jim today, and if he can even up his bid into a second round, because we know on the money side of things, he's not got the same amount of money as the Sheikh. We know, like, he's so rich, but in the circumstance, he would be the more, he would be the poorer option going into this, and I'm not saying that would be a bad thing. I'm just saying it would be a stretch. I don't know if Sir Jim and Ineos could get up to 5.5 billion. I really don't, but we'll see after the talks are held today. But let's get into some more news as well and get the news rolling. And it's been said that a high-level team of representatives will have toured Old Trafford and then will tour it again under Sir Jim, and it remains unclear whether the Ring Group, the US bank overseeing the process, will then choose a party to go exclusive or seek a further round of offers. And what I would say to you on that, when it comes to the further round of offers or whether they're going to go exclusive, I think that just basically depends how much Sir Jim impresses today. If Sir Jim goes in and he's talking to them, he's willing to up his bids, he's willing to go a bit higher to get to what the Ring Group and the Glazers see fit, if the talks are really positive, they'll take it to the next round. And don't forget these other parties that are involved as well in the process. Personally, for me, I do think it's between Sir Jim and I think it's between Qatar. I know that's the only thing we know right now, and that's the only thing that we've seen, but for me personally, that's the only thing I can base it off now because they're the only people I know. So it depends how well the talks go today with Sir Jim, whether it's going to go to a second round or whether it's going to be exclusive. But there's a lot to look forward to tonight with the news coming out surrounding that. And have we got some chats in the chat? And Keel Robinson TV says, need to take out a loan, you can't afford it. I mean, exactly. If you think about it that way, you've got to remember, Sir Jim is still going to be having debt. Ineos is going to take the debt of this because he can't afford to buy it outright. A lot of people won't be able to afford it outright, but at the same time, I'm not saying anything like bad about Sir Jim, about him being broke, because obviously he's ridiculously rich. I think he's the richest man in the UK. But if you're needing to take out a loan, which a lot of companies do, by the way, a lot of companies take out loans to buy bigger businesses, and as you can see, Sir Jim shaking hands with Richard Arnold there. Some would say you're not able to afford that, like that super chat just said then, but at the same time, a lot of companies do this. What I don't like about it, that debt will need to be repaid eventually. That's going to come out of the profit made from the club. Qatar are going to come in and they'll wipe the debt immediately. There will be no debt. There will be no debt under Qatar, and that's what I think a lot of fans are holding on to right now, including myself. Benson Thomas say, I've read that super chat out, and Black Wolf says, up the Beth. Thank you for that super chat as well. A few people say I'm missing chats here, but I can't see any that I've missed. I don't know if it's just my screen or anything. But Zayn Miassi is in the chat. Qatar by Arsenal, we are cheaper and about to win the league. Zayn, you wish. You really do wish. Just wait until we're owned by extremely rich owners that are passionate about the football side of things. Just wait. Arsenal, you're going to fall down. Do you know what would be even funnier? I actually kind of want Arsenal to win the league personally, because I don't want City to win it and break the record against Manchester United. But if Arsenal don't win anything this year, after all this talk, it will be laughable. It'll be extremely laughable. I want City to win it because I don't want... I want Arsenal to win it because I don't want City to break our record. But if City do win it, then I will be laughing at the Arsenal fans, I tell you that, because the cockiness coming from you guys is just insane. A lot of people talking about the Kardashians there tonight. Honestly, I was there yesterday and I was like, Kim Kardashian, glory hunting Arsenal. She's seen the prime. She's seen that KSI is connected to it, you know, Logan Paul. She's seen the prime. Saint, obviously, her kids are obviously obsessive prime. You know, they are nowadays. They've seen Arsenal, yet top of the league. The glory hunting from people that probably have never watched football in their lives. It's deserved, honestly. It's deserved. And I wonder if she'll come back over. She'll come and see Manchester United when we're top next year. All I'm saying is, I was so happy when they got beat, because I was like, the glory hunting from that is I mean, I'm not a Kardashian fan, but I know the Kardashians, watched the Kardashians before, and I was like, Kim, lost a bit of respect for you there. I'm not going to lie, being an Arsenal fan. Tom Best says, hopefully Qatar will give everything that we need and will give the manager what we need to get rid of this board. I mean, I think Qatar will do it. I think they'll come in and I think they'll go all guns blazing. That's all that we've heard from the project. They're so passionate about bringing Manchester United back to the top. They've got the money there to do it. I think they'll work with the manager. I really do, and I'd be surprised if they didn't after what Ten Hag has done this season. And we know what Ten Hag is like. He will put his foot down and say what signings he wants. He did it last summer. They suggested Pau Torres. He was like, no, I want Martinez. I want Timber. Like, he put his foot down when it came to signings last year, and hopefully he can do the same thing if it is under another ownership. And that's all the things they'll be getting told as well over at Carrington. They'll be saying, look, this is our transfer strategy with Ten Hag. This is how involved the manager is at the club. This is what he's done this season. They'll know all the strategies that they want to take forward. And I'm not saying that is definitely going to happen, because you never know with new ownership. I mean, look at Todd Bowley when he came into Chelsea. Things do happen, but I highly doubt that Ten Hag would be under threat if new ownership came in. And Ten Hag said himself how excited he is to work with new owners. You can tell he's buzzing. Like, you can see him in press conferences when he gets asked about it. He said it's a good thing for the club. Like, he's excited for this. He knows he's going to get more transfer budget. He knows he's going to get back in. He's going to get investment. I think it's a good thing, honestly. Dino DeVell says, great work, Beth. Thanks for everything you do. Guys do, from Brooklyn at New York. What a place Brooklyn is, honestly. Loved Brooklyn when I went there, amazing. And Zayn Miassi says, Ramsdale was distracted by Kim. Honestly, must have been distracted by something for that goal. Halfway line goal, scrambling back. I mean, I think Ramsdale's a good keeper, but maybe I'm being a bit harsh there. We know what I'm like when it comes to keepers, but yeah, maybe he was distracted by Kim in the crowds. I mean, Gonzalez, everyone's on about the sporting player. Is it Gonzalez? And he was trying to impress Kim with that little from the halfway line shot. It's a good way to do it if you're trying to get noticed, you know. You see what I mean? But I mean, it's funny, really. It's funny. I mean, Julia Roberts came to us. Kim Kardashian went to Arsenal. Who's better? Honestly, who's better? Get in the comments down below if you want to. I'm not going to share my opinion because I think they're both great. I mean, Julia Roberts is an amazing actress. Amazing actress. I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here. We're talking about Qatar and Sir Jim and who's going to buy the club, but. What other celebrities might visit Manchester United and might visit football teams? He certainly won't be going to Manchester City to see Pep Guardiola in the non-existent atmosphere there. I tell you that for a fact. A little slide digging there from Pep won't be happy. I wonder if Kim Kardashian's one of his idols. We'll see. Jack, he might say something about it in a press conference. Jack Birtles, do you think Qatar would be a great pathway for Qatari kids to join our youth academy? I mean, that could happen. Definitely could happen. I don't think it should be a factor, really. If you're good enough, no matter where you're from, you should be looked at to be joining an academy. You shouldn't just get into somewhere because you're from a certain country or because you're a certain way. I think if you're good enough to play for Man United, the academy should be looking at you. You could definitely get a better scouting network, get people in better to scout for the academy and buy players young and evolve them 100%. And a lot of people talking in the chat about Kim and Julia Roberts. I mean, entertain yourselves. Honestly, I'll tell you the news about Qatar and Sir Jim. And moving on about who was actually there yesterday. And it was described that a series of big hitters descended on Manchester around 10 a.m, with many taking the train north after flying to London. Don't know why I couldn't imagine people with that amount of money getting a train. I just always imagine them getting planes, but that's probably me being extremely naive. But anyway, got a little train up to Manchester from London. It's a great little trip. I've done it many times myself. Hope they enjoyed it. And then it included Shahzad Shabazz, president of the 9-2 Foundation set up by Sheikh to take over Man United, and Fadi Bakos, the Sheikh's senior personal advisor. So obviously the Sheikh wasn't there. Al-Thani wasn't at Old Trafford yesterday. Sir Jim is here today, maybe trying to get that personal touch, you know, getting a one-up on Al-Thani. Sir Jim, I see what you're doing there. But obviously he's got a lot of business probably to attend to in Qatar, and he sent his best advisors out there. So there was basically, they took it seriously. The correct people were there, and they'll be just relaying all the information back to the Sheikh over in Qatar. And SK said, as the chat has said, the only Kim we want is Kim Min Jae. I rate that highly. Kim Min Jae, definitely. He's the Kim we want to bring to Old Trafford. Clark3Y03, who do you want, Qatar or Sir Jim? I've been asked this quite a lot. I have to say, personally, Qatar, and I know a lot of people don't like that because I've had people comment to me, I've had people saying, Beth, how can you want Qatar when, look at the human rights issues, look at the LGBT issues and the women's rights issues and everything like that, and how can you want Qatar? People have asked me that, and what I want to clear up right now is, I don't agree with some of the stuff that they practice over there. You've got to say a religion is a religion at the end of the day, and religions, if you're in their country, it has to be followed. They're not going to come over here and get rid of the rainbow flags at Old Trafford. I doubt that's going to happen. They're going to come in here. They're going to invest massively into the women's team. We've seen what's happened at Manchester City and what's happened with the women's team. I don't think they're going to come over here and be like, no, sorry, women's team doesn't exist anymore. If you're LGBT, you can't come into the stadium. I'm not saying that these are it makes it right, the stuff that happens over in Qatar, because it doesn't whatsoever. And I 100% think that LGBT should be like, it should be normalised. It is a thing. 100% it should be normalised. I think women should have equal rights to men, all that stuff. I don't want to get too much into it. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff, and some of the stuff does make me feel uncomfortable. But you've got to look at the footballing aspect and what's going to be best on the pitch for Manchester United. You look at the likes of Manchester City. In their country, they have similar sort of laws and practices, and they've invested massively into the women's team. They've invested massively into Manchester as a city as a whole. I think sometimes you've got to look at the whole picture in these sort of things, and you can't individualise it onto one organisation and one person. In the fact of Al-Thani, you can look at Qatar, and I know it doesn't, I'm just talking from my personal point of view as well. I know people that went over to Qatar for the World Cup, women as well. I know a lot of women that went over and they said it's the most comfortable they've ever felt. They felt ridiculously safe. They had an amazing experience. The one thing I would say is it wasn't right what happened with the rainbow flags and the LGBT. I really don't think that was right whatsoever. It should be out there. It should be normalised. It should be a thing. It should have representation. These are things you've got to look at and think about. But when I look at the future of Manchester United on the pitch and who's going to take us forward on the footballing side of things, I do think they do a brilliant job. But at the same time, if we got Sir Jim, I wouldn't be disappointed. It's a massive step up from the Glazers. I want the Glazers gone at the end of the day, but if I had to pick now, I'd go with Qatar, my personal opinion. I'm not afraid to say that, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't mean if Sir Jim comes in, I'm not going to get behind him, because I'll be 100% behind him. I'll be really happy we've got the club out of the hands of the Glazers, and I'll be, you know, rooting for Sir Jim and hoping that he can produce at the football club. So that's my personal take on it. Probably rambled a bit around that. It's really tough talking on them touchy subjects, but that's a little bit of my thought process anyway for your Friday morning. If you wanted it or not, I just kind of gave it you. SK says traditions and culture can change. We can be positive influence on them by working closer. Being owned by Qatar doesn't mean we get rid of our morals. Exactly. At the end of the day, whether we're owned by Qatar or anyone, you still have your own morals where you can decide what you think's right in life. We get owned by Qatar. I still massively believe in women's rights and women having equal rights. I still massively believe in LGBT being a thing, LGBTQ being a thing. I still massively believe in all the stuff that I believe in everyday life and what my morals are, and everyone else can too. And so will all the people of Manchester United. It doesn't change the people of Manchester United or anything surrounding that. And Adam B72 says, hi Beth, if Sir Jim comes in, doesn't it mean the club will still be carrying some debt to Qatar for me? Yeah, it does. It will be put onto Ineos. The debt's going to be put onto Ineos, just to answer your question on that. So yeah, there will still be debt and it will be carried by Ineos, and that will have to be paid back. If you look at the Sheikh and what they're going to bring, it will be no debt, a debt-free club, and the debt will be cleared straight away. That's as well. That's the main. That is the main reason I'm veering towards Qatar. The fact that we would have no debt whatsoever. It would just be unreal after all these years of the Glazers. It really would. Anyway, let's move on to a little bit more news coming out. And the representatives of Al-Thani were joined by Sam Towers, the head of global technology and telecoms at Bank of America, Yasir Shah, a managing director with the same company, which is helping with the financial element of a Qatar-based bid. And the party was met by senior members of the Rain Group, which was overseeing the process, and was shown around the club's iconic home, which is in need of substantial investment. Obviously, the Glazers weren't there. The Rain Group are carrying this. They're probably getting paid God knows what to do this, unreal amounts, and they were showing the Sheikh's representative round, and they were probably like at Old Trafford, yeah, by the way, you're going to need at least $1 billion to revamp this stadium, because there is leaks coming from everywhere, there is drains coming from everywhere. I mean, I saw an awful video the other day of the men's urinals overflowing at Old Trafford. It needs serious work. It really, really does. And that's something that needs to be taken into consideration as well. When you're looking at the bids that you're putting in, just all the crucial details we'll be looking at tomorrow. The stadium, Carrington, what they can do to improve it, what they can do with a stadium to make an iconic stadium if they want to rebuild, if they want to reinvest, what the financial power of the club is, what the sponsorships are, what the current deals are, all the financial stuff we've been talking about yesterday. 100%. And then they were taking in a black Mercedes and in people carriers for a 15-minute journey to Carrington. I drive that way sometimes home from the studio. Could have seen him, potentially could have seen him. I didn't really see a blacked out Mercedes because I was here in the studio working on videos, but it was crazy to think that they were literally just kind of next to us. It's crazy to think that was going on for 10 hours yesterday as well. And then obviously at the training ground, a number of departments from United's business delivered a PowerPoint presentations on the football side, and they were showed United's approach to recruitment, all parts of what it was doing. John Murtough was probably giving himself a little 15 minutes time to shine. This is why I should stay as sporting director. This is what my plans are for the summer. This is what we've done so far. You know, kind of trying to sell themselves in some aspects as well, and also get across what the plans are with Manchester United and what they want going forward. And obviously Sheikh Jassim was not present to the talks, and they concluded at around 7:20 p.m. 10 hours of talks. That must be positive, I think. If you're talking for 10 hours, the amount of stuff you've got to go through, obviously we've heard that the talks are positive. It's exciting stuff. The exact same process will happen today with Sir Jim, by the way. The exact same process will happen. And yeah, a lot of people talking about the leaks pouring down from the roof and the overflowing toilets and everything like that. It needs to be sorted. It's mad to think that Old Trafford was it literally was the best stadium in the UK and across Europe, really, at one point. And the Glazers have literally not spent near enough a penny invested into it over the years. It's disgusting. It's actually disgusting when you think about it. To be the owners of Manchester United and to not continually upkeep the stadium and let it get into that condition, it's honestly criminal, and I can't wait for these owners to be gone. I really cannot wait. It's just so disrespectful to the fans as well, to come into Manchester United, that you can't be bothered to upkeep the stadium that they're going to be paying ridiculous amounts of money every season to go and watch in the club that they love, and you can't invest money to upkeep that stadium. Can't wait for them to leave the club, if I'm being honest with you. And getting on to what happened surrounding Jim Ratcliffe and what's going to happen today surrounding Jim Ratcliffe and who is there part of his team. As I said, he's got himself the personal touch. Maybe that'll give an advantage. I really highly doubt it will. I don't think it will at all. But, you know, he's there to be involved in the talks, and that's all you can ask for, 100% involved. And he says Ratcliffe will be joined by ex-Team Sky and the British cycling supremo Sir Dave Brailsford. I know Adam talked about him on the morning show before. Done brilliant stuff for cycling. Whether he can put that into football, let's see. And fellow Ineos owners Andy Curry, John Rees, and the Ineos chair and executive chief Rob Nevin and Jean-Claude Blanc. So all Ratcliffe's team are there as well. And if you know any of the names there, I know a lot of you will know Dave Brailsford there and thinking about what he's done in terms of cycling. But all Jim Ratcliffe's team were there to kind of basically these same exact talks that went on yesterday, round 2 again for Sir Jim, and we'll get more conclusive information coming out, I'm assuming, at the end of today and the end of tonight regarding whether them talks are positive, whether Sir Jim can move on to the next round, what's going to happen there, whether the Glazers like Sir Jim and whether the Rain Group think they can move forward in the process, whether they're going to go exclusive, whether they're going to go around to a second round of bids, what the other parties' involvement is on this. We'll hear a lot more about that coming out tonight. And again, just confirming for you, coming from Mike Keegan, Ratcliffe Group wants to take Glazers' majority stake, while Sheikh Jassim wants 100% of the club and has promised to clear the historic debt from the Glazers' leveraged buyout. That is the key thing you want to take away from the show today, if you haven't already. This is the key thing you've got to think about when making your decision. Ratcliffe wants to take the Glazers' stake and keep the debt, but put it on Ineos. Sheikh Jassim wants 100% of the club and wants no debt onto Manchester United at all. He wants full ownership. He wants to clear the debt. He wants to take Man United to the next level. Ratcliffe also wants to take Man United to the next level. I'm not saying he doesn't. But for me, as a fan of United and knowing what we've been through for the last 17 years, the no debt option, 100% ownership, seems like my cup of tea, if I'm being honest with you. I don't see how you can't think that's a brilliant idea. I understand why people want a local Manchester United fan that is, you know, Manchester born and bred, has the best interest of United at heart and isn't going to, you know, and obviously doesn't have the human rights issues that are involved with Qatar. I understand why people want to go down that route. I get it. But also you've got to think, I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe isn't a completely clean image either. I mean, Ineos, the emissions, the carbon emissions, the global warming and stuff that puts out there, anyone that is in that amount of money is going to have tarnishes on their record like they are going to. It's just for you to decide. I'm not to tell you what to decide. Everyone has their own opinion. I know people that want Sir Jim. I know people that want Al Thani in Qatar. It's your decision what you want to happen, and I'm sure a lot more news conclusively will come out towards the end of the day on this after the talks have been held. Dennis 2000, a member for 22 months. Most important, no more debt. That is what a lot of people's opinions are, and I cannot blame you whatsoever. That's what my preference is, no more debt. And Jim Z91, you should have invited them over to the studio, Beth. I mean, when they take over Manchester United, maybe that could happen. You never know. You never know these things, like new owners coming into Man United. Why not? Why not do an interview on the biggest Manchester United fan channel there is in the world? Could happen. Not saying it's going to, but it could happen. I'll tell you what, we'll try. We'll definitely try. Maybe I'm shooting a little bit too high there, but you know what? My motto is, shoot for the stars, you land on the moon. Do you know what I mean? A little positive take away from your Friday. Always got to aim high, and you never know what might happen on the United stand. We're going to aim for big things, 100%. Going to aim for big things on that one. And Danny Upal says, Manchester born and bred, that is at Stamford Bridge more than Old Trafford. Don't get this Manchester to Manchester crap. I mean, again, he wanted to buy Chelsea. Let that sink in. His preference apparently was always Man United, but he did want to buy Chelsea. Just a little take away from it. I mean, I do believe he's a Manchester United fan, and I know he's a Manchester United fan. I know he was wanting to buy this club off the Glazers for a long time. I know that is right about Sir Jim. You know, he wanted to buy the club even before the Glazers announced it was up for sale. The talks have always been there, and I do believe he's got the best interest for Manchester United at heart. The debt puts me off, and I don't think it'd be him. It's not the fact he wouldn't want to go into Manchester United and, you know, get the best players, aim to, you know, invest massively in the summer and give Erik ten Hag a big budget and invest in the squad. I don't think he wouldn't want to do that. It's just whether he can do that with the debt that's on Ineos and the amount of money he genuinely does have. It's just whether he can do it. Obviously, we've seen it. Nice have not really spent too much money. They've been a bit restricted in summer transfer windows. It's just whether he can come into Manchester United and afford to do that. I worry about that side of things, but I would back him all the way if he gets in charge. JT, member for 1 month. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to all the Irish out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I will be out celebrating tonight in Manchester. Anyone else going out tonight in Manchester? Get in the comments down below. But St. Patrick's Day is always a good one, isn't it? I mean, the Irish know how to party, I tell you that for free. They definitely know how to party. Thomas James, real fans who care about this club's roots want Sir Jim. Exactly. I mean, I don't think you can say real fans want Sir Jim. Why are you a real fan if you want Sir Jim? Like, what makes you determine who is a real fan? I'm from Manchester. I've grown up in Manchester. I've supported Manchester United all my life. My preference is Qatar. I go to the games. I sit next to people that are Manchester born and bred and have been going to United since they were little, and people of every age group. I mean, if you see my picture at Wembley, you can see it. I go to United with loads of different types of people from all different backgrounds and, you know, different ages. The majority want Qatar. Like, it's a falsehood that it's only real Manchester United, Manchester born and bred fans that want Sir Jim. It's not true. There's a lot of Manchester born and bred Man United fans, local fans, that want Qatar. Like, that isn't the case in my opinion. But I can understand why people want Sir Jim, whether they're from Manchester or not. I understand why people want Sir Jim. I don't think it really matters whether they're real fans, whatever you determine that is or not. And I think a real fan is someone that just wants the best for the club, if I'm being honest with you. Greg Scott says, good morning, Beth. Arsenal are shiete. That's how you say that word. Arsenal are shiete. Can't swear at this time in the morning. Maybe when we get to the later show this afternoon. And yeah, a lot of people saying real fans are those who actively follow the club. And a few people in the chat saying, I'm Manchester born and bred and I want Qatar. I don't think it's one of these things that's been trying to portrayed by the media where it's just local fans that want Sir Jim. A lot of local fans want Qatar as well. I spoke to them. A lot of people that aren't local want Sir Jim. I know people that aren't local fans that want Sir Jim. I've spoke to them. It varies. It really, really does vary. So, you know, take for what you see in the paper sometimes as a pinch of salt. Sometimes if it's not a reliable source, or just take it as what you see as well. I know Matt spoke about that as well. But, you know, before we wrap up the show, because the Champions League draw is coming soon, I want to talk about Arsenal out of the Europa League. Arsenal are out of the Europa League. A lot of the Arsenal fans trying to tell me, oh, I'm glad we're out. Arteta didn't take this seriously. We don't want a Europa League anyway. We just want a Champions League. We're focusing on the league. You can't tell me that you weren't desperately trying to win that game. It was still a very strong 11. I saw Odegaard trying to, you know, get up the crowd numerous times. It didn't work. And, you know, you could see how gutted Arteta was to go out of that competition. No manager wants to go out of any competition, especially when you've not won a European trophy in how long? How long has it been for Arsenal now? So you look at that and I think, one, is the reason I'm bringing it up on United Stand, because it's brilliant for Manchester United. No matter what we say about Arsenal or not, Arsenal are a big competitor in that Europa League. They were the team that I looked at in that Europa League and I thought they could be tough. They could be really tough to go at. I had faith in Man United, but it would have been a tough draw if we got them. A lot of people say, well, Sporting beat them. They must be an even tougher draw. It doesn't always work like that. I still think Sporting are a great team. But if you ask me, would I rather play Sporting or Arsenal? I'd rather play Sporting. One, because I get a little trip to Lisbon, which would be lovely, and I love Lisbon. But two, because I think it'd be not an easy game for us, but an easier game to go against. I say that now, they'll probably not, could potentially knock us out, and they did brilliantly to beat Arsenal, but I'd rather go for Sporting. And at the end of the day, in the Europa League, you can only beat what's in front of you. You can only beat who is up next for you in the competition. The amount of good people that go out in the Europa League, the better. Like, I hear people saying, you need to beat the best of the best to be able to win the trophy. You don't. You saw that with the Carabao Cup. The hardest team we beat in the Carabao Cup was Newcastle, and I know that is the Europa League, and it is different, but you can only beat the team that you've got in front of you. As many as the big teams go out as possible, I'll be happy with. An easier run for the final and an easier run to Budapest. But look, everyone, I cannot wait for the Europa League draw coming up. I also going to have a little look at the Champions League draw as well to see what's happening there. Personally, in the Champions League, I'm rooting for Napoli. And obviously in the Europa League, Manchester United. Get in the chat down below. Who do you think United are going to get? I have a sneaky feeling we're going to get Sevilla. Just conquer the whole of Spain. But thank you everyone for joining me on the updated talks of Qatar. And thank you everyone for getting in the comments down below. I love speaking to you guys, getting your guys' opinions on this. And we'll get more news at the end of the day, whether the talks with Sir Jim went well, whether they didn't, whether we're going to a next round of bidding. We'll also have a Europa League draw coming up for you as well. And a Champions League draw is happening now on That's Football with Mark, the man himself, on That's Football. So make sure you go across to That's Football, watch the Champions League draw. After that on the United Stand, it's going to be the Europa League draw. Press conference reaction, 4 p.m. show coming as well today. It's a jam-packed day and there's going to be news coming throughout the day. But thanks for joining me, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you on the next one, everyone.